Thanks for coming on the Andy Slater Show. How would you say Miami-Dade stands right now in the fight against coronavirus?
I think we're in good shape. Obviously, though, we've had over 150 deaths here in Miami-Dade County, but all things being considered, the size of our population, how big an urban area we are in a international gateway to Latin America and the world, we stand pretty well. We have plenty of capacity in our hospitals. We have plenty of ventilators. We have plenty of ICU beds. We see actually the number of COVID-19 patients that are in hospital, actually more are being discharged than are coming in. So those are all pretty good signs of what's happening here. We're still, in it, but I can see light at the end of the tunnel.
There's a couple of field hospitals that are set up, and then a release went out just a little while ago about refrigerated trucks for the medical examiner's office. So do you plan on those being used at all?
At this point, look, we are hoping for the best, and I'm looking at the trends that I'm seeing that doesn't anticipate that we'll be using it, but you never know with something like this. This is an unknown virus, and so an unknown illness, and so the field hospitals are being erected or are erected. One is 250 beds. It's already erected. The other one, 450 beds, that is being erected inside the convention center. Hopefully we'll never use it, but it's a good thing that they're here just in case.
How do you balance the economy with public health? Because there's a lot of talk about reopening.
That's a balance. That's a really good question. And so there's no book on this. We are writing the book as we go. How do I balance it? I've got to listen to our medical experts, and whenever it's the time is right to start to open up the economy. Look, today I had a Zoom meeting with a bunch of community folks and that are experts in their field, plus our health experts, talking about how can we open up open spaces, parks, beaches, golf courses, and the like. And when should we do it? And then if we do it, what kind of rules and regulations are going to be in place so that we can maintain our social distancing? Can we do these things in a safe manner, knowing that we don't have a vaccine for this virus? And so it's tough to balance, but look, we've got to move forward, and we've got to open up the economy as long as it's safe.
What did you learn from the meeting you had today with the experts?
I think that what I learned today was that some of the medical field are looking for some metrics that we're on the downside. They're writing the book, all right, and so there is this balancing act that they understand we've got to maintain, and they're really worried about, okay, can we maintain this capacity that we have? Can we never go above that line? And right now, we're way under that line in terms of capacity. We have a lot more capacity than we're using right now. And so whatever measures we take, we also then have to measure what the ramifications of those new measures are, so that it doesn't start doing this anymore. And so as we do that, okay, we did this, kind of steady, coming down still. All right, let's do this, okay, kind of steady, going down. Those are the things we have to do.
What do you anticipate after talking with the experts are going to be the first few things that you'll open up?
I think the first few things will open up parks in some manner, maybe green spaces. You can jog, you can bike, you can walk, enjoy the outdoors, maybe some individual kind of thing. A kid can be picking a soccer ball by himself or herself. People can play catch maybe. Maybe tennis, singles tennis. It's doubtful, though, that we're going to be opening up for any kind of organized activities like soccer games, football games, basketball games. That's going to be a little bit more problematic because there's more contact, and we don't want that. Golf courses seem to be something that it looks like they can open up as long as there are certain things that they put in place. Maybe some kind of a styrofoam thing around the flag where you just hit it and basically you're in. Instead of having to go inside and pick up your ball, not touching the flag, having one person per cart or walking, making sure they're 6 feet apart, that kind of stuff. Beaches are going to be a little bit more difficult because of the party nature of it. can we reopen our bay and the ocean and have more people access it with their boats? A lot of we have to make sure that enforcement of the rules is key to all of these things opening up.
When do you, from your meeting with the experts today, when do you feel that the public could look at maybe some parks opening up or marinas or any of the activities that you just talked about, like golf courses?
I can't give you a specific date because, again, this is the first meeting. They went back to do some work. They're going to come back, and then we're going to talk to our health experts as to when we can start doing this. I can tell you I can see a light at the end of this tunnel. I can see, a day not too distant, future where we're going to be opening up, the open spaces. And then, as we are waiting for that day, we're going to formulate other plans on how do we open up retail stores, how do we open up other businesses that may be closed right now and start bringing getting people back to work, bringing the economy back. There are some things that probably are not going to come back for a while, like a nightclub probably won't be back for a while. Bars may not be back for a while. Big gatherings of people, that's probably not going to come back for a while. But there's a lot of things that we can bring back. And again, I see the light at the end of the tunnel.
The Miami-Dade school superintendent, Alberto Carvalho, tweeted out a little while ago. He said a physical return to schools this year is not only unlikely, but imprudent. So who makes the call for Miami-Dade schools to possibly reopen or stay closed?
I mean, he can. I mean, I believe that if I felt it was a health issue, I've got to look at the powers of the Miami-Dade County mayor. If I felt it was a health issue, him reopening, and I felt that it was not prudent, I may be able to overrule that. I don't know. I got to take a look. I haven't talked to my attorneys yet. I think he's on the right course. I don't think it would be prudent this year to open up the school system. My sister-in-law happens to be on the school board. I got to talk to her. But I think it's right. Look, that's the problem with that is not that it's, obviously if a child gets sick, et cetera, and there's going to be a percentage of them that it's going to hurt. But they seem to actually tolerate this virus much better than older folks like me. But the problem is, and they go home to their parents and they go home to their grandparents. That's the problem, and that can become a breeding ground. And so I echo the sentiments of the superintendent. It's probably not likely and probably not prudent to open up this year.
Whenever Governor DeSantis says we're going to reopen the state, is it going to be a statewide thing that's going to include Miami-Dade County, or will you have your own rules and regulations?
I spoke to the governor about it, and he understands that, and I agree with him, and that's why I supported the governor in that people are clamoring for statewide closures and all that, and the governor didn't do it because it's a separate situation up north and central part of the state, and it's separate down here in southeast Florida. So I spoke to him and said, look, I think we're on the same page. There may be some things that we have to maintain here because we're so much more urban than other parts of the state, and he agreed with that. So I believe that that's what's actually going to happen. He's going to give some statewide, but I think he's also going to give some latitude to the local governments to do what they need to do.
Lastly, for you, Mayor, the president spoke yesterday about sports. Governor DeSantis spoke about sports as well, and they both said we want our sports back. Do you believe sports without fans, obviously, should be coming back to Marlins Park or the American Airlines Arena anytime soon?
I think that once you have the new 5-minute testing and you can get the athletes that are going to participate in that event to all be negative and not spreading the virus, I think you can do that in a safe manner without any fans in the stands. I think sports fans are a little starved for something. The NBA horse game doesn't do it for me. And so you can do it in a fashion that's safe, as long as you have that technology, as long as you have that 5-minute test. You can test everybody who's going to participate, and including the referees and all that, and then it can be done in a safe manner. And so I hope that sports comes back, sooner rather than later.
Pro sports was named an essential business just a few days ago by the state of Florida. Have you personally been in contact with any sports organization about games at Marlins Park or the AAA?
Not so much Marlins Park. I have spoken to the Dolphins organization and what are the plans of the NFL and all that, and they're still working that out. Same thing, I'm sure, with I've heard talk about Major League Baseball maybe going Arizona and Florida and having, busing from one city to another and having, games again played in front of no fans here in our state. Again, if you have that testing, if you have that technology, it can be done safely, and I think that would be a good thing. And you're not putting anybody at risk at all. As a matter of fact, if they're all tested negative with that antibody test, that you get the results in about 5 minutes. And I think that's what they'll do in the NFL. Hopefully, you can do that in the NBA and Major League Baseball as well. So it brings some kind of sports brings some kind of normalcy back to America. That you can see. It's also be a visual reminder that hey, we can see light at the end of the tunnel. Things are not. It's not going to be the whole normal. By the way, it's the new normal for a while until we get a vaccine for this coronavirus, and then we get back to a more normal. Even though at the end, this coronavirus will have ramifications of the way that we do business for a long time to come. I mean, I've got 6,000 of my county employees are not working at an office right now. They're working out of the home. And my direction to the county is I want to keep them at home. There's a whole lot of reasons why if they're just as productive or more productive at home than they are in an office for me to keep them at home. That's 12,000 trips I'm taking off the road by cars. They're getting a better quality of life because they don't have to they don't wake up early. They don't have to battle an hour and a half of traffic, another hour and a half coming back, more time with their kids. I think it's a better quality of life. And I think a lot of businesses, a lot of offices have figured that out. And I think you're going to see a big change in the way we do business here in the United States. So,
what was your conversation with the Dolphins?
Silver lining here. Huh? What's that?
What was your conversation with the Dolphins like?
I mean, I'm pretty good friends with the CEO, Tom Garfinkel, and we talk, a lot about different things. And so the conversation was talk some football. My son played for the University of Miami. I'm a big football fan. But also, okay, if you're going to do it, how are you going to do it? Will you be able to even have, spacing inside the stadium? It's going to be problematic, So we talked about those issues. I mean, what are the logistical issues of actually putting on an event? And there's the game, and then there's the fan experience. And maybe that fan experience is going to have to be you're going to have to enjoy that fan experience maybe in the comfort of your own home in front of a TV, which, by the way, is where most fans enjoyed sports anyway, on TV. Only a select few get to go to the games, But I'll miss the games if it ends up that way. But, when they're away, I always watch a game on TV. So it'll be no different for me. As long as they pipe in some fan reaction, it'll be okay.
You think they'll start in September, even with no fans?
I don't know. Look, they've got a problem. The OTAs are they're not having the OTAs. They're going to now have the draft. I'm sure that after they have the draft, they usually have about a week later they have the rookies and stuff come in. Not going to do that. Then how do you hold the camp, right? How do you hold the training camp? Again, the training camp will probably have to be you get tested, you're somewhat isolated. Kind of put them in a hotel or something where they're self-isolating so that nobody gets contaminated, and then maybe they can do that. They got a lot of bright people that are going to figure out how to put on the NFL because the NFL is such a big business, and most of their revenue comes from TV anyway, and they don't want to give that up. So I'm sure something's going to happen, and they'll figure it out.
Before I let you go, I know you said you don't have a date yet on when things may reopen. But do you have a date or an estimation when you think you'll be able to give that date?
No, because then you'll hold me to that. So I can't give it to you. And somebody else will hold me to it and say, oh, you said this day. And I can't do that because I've got to get the best information from the medical people. And then also I got to see these trends. And we've got we've got to come up with a metric that says, okay, when you get here, that's when you can open that up, and in that fashion. We're not there yet, and I don't know where here is yet. I don't know where that number is that they'll feel comfortable with us doing it, and where we have to feel comfortable with us doing it. I also pose a question: what if we never get there? What if we just keep going like that? Okay, going flat. Okay, for months and months and months. We can't sustain what we're doing now. So we have got to find a way to open things up, but do it in a way that it really reduces the risk of infection to the people of Miami-Dade, because we want as few people infected here as possible, because that way they don't infect the ones that are really being affected, which is the elderly, and then those with underlying medical conditions. And so there's a paradox too about this. Um, Apparently, obesity has something to do with this, and so here we are telling people to stay home, and yet, we maybe want to start getting people out to start exercising and losing some weight, because apparently that's a factor too in how serious this disease hits the individual.
Mayor, I appreciate your time. Thanks for joining me.
My pleasure, always. Have a good one.